Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to co-chair the 26th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission in Moscow today. New Delhi and Moscow will continue energy cooperation notwithstanding external pressure. Russia slams Trump tariffs on India as unjustified and unilateral. Three crucial bills introduced by Home Minister Amit Shah in the Lok Sabha sent to the Joint Parliamentary Committee for consultation. One of the bills to ensure decriminalization of Indian politics. And Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba proposes economic zone initiative for the continent of Africa. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is on a visit to Russia, interacted with prominent scholars and think tank representatives of Russia. They discussed India-Russia relations, contemporary world geopolitics and India's viewpoint. Earlier today, External Affairs Minister paid tributes at Moscow's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Dr. S. Jaishankar is expected to co-chair the 26th session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific, Technological and Cultural Cooperation, IRIGC-TEC. The External Affairs Minister will also address the India-Russia Business Forum meeting in Moscow. The External Affairs Minister will also meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and review the bilateral agenda and share perspective on regional and global issues. The visit aims to further strengthen the long-standing and time-tested India-Russia special and privileged strategic partnership. Dr. S. Jaishankar will be in Russia till August 21st. The Russian embassy in India held a press briefing to discuss the current dynamics of Russia-India relations, marking significant anniversaries, including the 25th anniversary of the strategic partnership and the 78th anniversary of diplomatic relations. And now, let's take you to the lower house of Indian Parliament, where Ashwini Vaishnav is
digital technologies बहुत तेजी से फैली है, नई टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप हुई है और टेक्नोलॉजी के कारण देश की एक नई पहचान भी बनी है। स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम आगे बढ़ा है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, टेक्नोलॉजी से कई लाभ है। ऑनलाइन डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी से संबंधित एक सेक्टर ऐसा है, ऑनलाइन गेमिंग, जो एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण सेक्टर बना है। इस सेक्टर में 3 सेगमेंट है। प्रथम सेगमेंट है ई स्पोर्ट्स का सेगमेंट, जिसमें स्ट्रैटेजिक थिंकिंग बढ़ती है, टीम में कोऑर्डिनेशन करना सीखता है व्यक्ति, कल्चरल एक्सचेंज करना सीखता है और दुनिया में एक बहुत नए तरीके से ई स्पोर्ट्स का बढ़ावा हो रहा है। दूसरा सेगमेंट है ऑनलाइन सोशल गेम्स। हम सब ने ऑनलाइन सोशल गेम्स, चाहे सॉलिटेयर हो, चाहे चेस हो, चाहे सुडोकू हो, ये सब देखे खेल। सीखने के लिए उपयोगी है, एजुकेशन के लिए उपयोगी है, एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए भी उपयोगी है, मेमोरी बढ़ाने के लिए उपयोगी और वाइडली अवेलेबल है, वाइडली खेले जाते हैं। लेकिन माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, एक तीसरा सेगमेंट ऐसा है ऑनलाइन मनी गेम्स, जो कि आज समाज में बड़ा चिंता का विषय बना है। जैसा आपने आरंभ में कहा, कई ऐसे परिवार है, कई ऐसे व्यक्ति है जिनको ऑनलाइन मनी गेम्स के कारण एक एडिक्शन हो जाता है, जिंदगी भर की बचत गेम में उड़ा दी जाती है। फ्रॉड और चीटिंग एल्गोरिदम्स ऐसे होते हैं कि पता नहीं चलता कि कौन किसके साथ खेल रहा है और एल्गोरिदम्स ओपेक एल्गोरिदम्स होते हैं, हार निश्चय हो जाती है। फाइनेंशियल लॉसेस, माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, कई परिवार नष्ट हुए, एक्सट्रीम केसेस हुए, सुसाइड भी हुई। अभी हाल ही में कर्नाटक की एक रिपोर्ट है टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया की, 32 सुसाइड 31 महीनों में। ये टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में 20 तारीख को छपा है। और उनके गृह मंत्री जी ने भी मतलब एक ऐसे करीब इस्टेब्लिश हो गया है कि ऑनलाइन गेमिंग के कारण, मनी गेमिंग के कारण सीरियस इम्पैक्ट आ रहा है फैमिलीज पे, मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग हो रही है, टेरर सपोर्ट हो रहा है। अध्यक्ष जी, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने अपनी रिपोर्ट में स्पष्ट कहा है कि एसोसिएशन बिटवीन ऑनलाइन मनी गेम्स एंड कंपल्सिव बिहेवियर, साइकोलॉजिकल बिहेवियर, साइकोलॉजिकल डिस्ट्रेस, फाइनेंशियल हार्डशिप, डिसरप्शन ऑफ फैमिली लाइफ, उन्होंने इसको ऑनलाइन गेमिंग का डिसऑर्डर एक नया घोषित किया है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, इसीलिए इस बिल में 2 भाग है, 3 सेगमेंट में से 2 सेगमेंट को सरकार प्रमोट करना चाहती है, ई स्पोर्ट्स को, ऑनलाइन सोशल गेमिंग को। उसके लिए अथॉरिटी बनाएंगे, गेम मेकर्स को सहायता देंगे, स्कीम करेंगे। लेकिन माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, जब समाज के बारे में, मध्यम वर्गीय परिवारों के बारे में और इंडस्ट्री के एक सेगमेंट के बारे में, जब समाज के बारे में और सरकार के रेवेन्यू के बारे में चिंता करनी होती है, इन दोनों के बीच में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने हमेशा मध्यम वर्ग के परिवार को ही चुना है, हमेशा समाज के बेनिफिट को ही चुना है, कभी इस पे कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं किया है। और इस बिल में भी प्राथमिकता दी गई है समाज के कल्याण को, और समाज में जो बहुत एक बड़ी बुराई आ रही है उससे बचने के लिए ये बिल लाया गया। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा इस हाउस से इसको यूनानिमसली पास करें।
मैं माननीय सदस्यों से आग्रह करता हूं, इस महत्वपूर्ण विधेयक पर चर्चा करें। आप अपनी अपनी सीट पर जाके विराजें, आप चर्चा करें, मैं चर्चा का अवसर दूंगा।
So that was Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav speaking about the promotion and regulation of online gaming bill 2025 in Lok Sabha. The bill aims to promote and regulate the online gaming sector, including esports, educational games and social gaming. However, as we saw, the opposition continued to protest, leading to disruptions and repeated adjournments in the House earlier in the day. Moving on now, Russian embassy in India held a press briefing to discuss the current dynamics of India-Russia ties. The discussion highlighted the increasing cooperation within the forum of BRICS, particularly in the financial sphere, driven by the need for safer transactions and mutual benefit. It emphasizes BRICS' role as a stabilizing force in a turbulent global environment, with trade among its members growing significantly.
The trade within BRICS is growing against the backdrop of the current turbulence. For example, Russia's trade with BRICS partners has increased by 70.5% in the previous year. And the point is that the more challenging and unpredictable the global environment becomes, the more relevant BRICS becomes as a stabilizing force and a center of gravity for those who are seeking a mutually beneficial cooperation, grounded in respect for sovereignty and diversity.
Despite external pressures and sanctions, trade is expected to continue between India and Russia at an annual rate of around 10%. So it was informed that the two sides, New Delhi and Moscow, will maintain their oil trade from Russia, which constitute a crucial 40% share for the Indian economy, and the potential use of national currencies in settlements amid declining trust in global currencies like the US dollar and euro.
It's the main item of our export, but nevertheless we see the tendency when number and range of goods, commodities is increasing. And besides that, we see that, and I wanted to highlight that despite political situation, we can predict that the same level of oil import, crude oil import, will be approximately the same.
On to the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. A day after US President Donald Trump offered security assurances to help resolve the conflict during a rare White House summit, the path to peace remains unclear as the US and its allies began discussions on the nature of potential military support for Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt confirmed that US air support was an option and a possibility.
U.S. boots will not be on the ground in Ukraine, but we can certainly help in the coordination and perhaps provide other means of security guarantees to our European allies. The President understands security guarantees are crucially important to ensure a lasting peace, and he has directed his national security team to coordinate with our friends in Europe and also to continue to cooperate and discuss these matters with Ukraine and Russia as well.
Earlier, Trump also spoke with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban on Tuesday about possibly hosting a summit between Zelensky and Putin in Budapest. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the White House talks as a major step forward towards ending the conflict and setting up a trilateral meeting with Putin and Trump. Also, as per officials, NATO military leaders were set to meet on Wednesday to discuss Ukraine, with US General Dan Kane expected to join the meeting virtually. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Wednesday that Moscow is ready to discuss the potential political aspects of a settlement with Ukraine. Lavrov said that territorial changes are often an essential component of conflict resolution.
И да, территориальные изменения очень часто являются неотъемлемым компонентом достижения договоренности. Таких примеров множество. Я хочу еще раз особо подчеркнуть, мы никогда не вели речь о том, что нам просто нужно захватить какие-то территории. Ни Крым, ни Донбасс, ни Новороссия, как территории, никогда не были нашей целью. Нашей целью было защитить людей, русских людей, которые столетиями проживали на этих землях, которые открывали эти земли, проливали за них кровь и в Крыму, и на Донбассе, создавали города, Одессу, Николаев, многие другие, порты, заводы, фабрики.
Now, due to the aftermath of the oil spill that happened last December in Russia's Krasnodar region, several Russian tourists are visiting Crimea, the peninsula annexed by Russia in 2014. More than 150 beaches have been closed in the area after two Russian tankers collided in stormy weather in the Kerch Strait, resulting in a leak of almost 10,000 tons of heavy fuel oil. Authorities in Krasnodar region in southern Russia estimate a 70% drop in tourist numbers due to the oil spill. Meanwhile, another reason why many tourists are drawn to Crimea is because of its relatively inexpensive accommodation and fresh summer cuisine. Meanwhile, Pope Leo urged Catholics and other religious faithfuls to observe a day of fasting and prayers on Friday for peace in Ukraine and other war-torn countries. He made the appeal during his weekly audience at the Vatican on Wednesday. Leo, the first US Pope, has made several appeals to end the war in Ukraine during the first few months of his papacy. European leaders representing Germany, France, Italy, the UK, the European Commission and NATO have returned home from Washington after meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump at the White House this week. The EU leaders vowed to support Ukraine in peace negotiations with Russia. For more on this, we now connect with our Deutsche Welle correspondent Emily Leshner in Berlin. Emily, hi. Remind us what was the main goal for EU leaders who touched down in Washington, and by that measure, did they achieve it?
Well, one of the key aims for the European leaders in attendance was getting Trump to agree to security guarantees for Ukraine should serious peace negotiations begin to take shape. And they did accomplish that. There aren't a lot of details yet about what these security guarantees would be, but Trump did say at least that the U.S. might be able to provide air support. And something else that the EU probably considers an achievement or at least a favorable outcome of the meeting is the fact that there was no mention of Ukraine ceding land to Russia as a prerequisite for starting peace talks. That is something that Putin has insisted on. He wants parts of Donetsk and Luhansk regions, which are key strategic territories that could give Russia a military advantage down the road. And Zelensky, meanwhile, has repeatedly said that Ukraine is not willing to relinquish land for peace. A lot of people expected this to be a central point at the talks because it came up during Putin's very recent meeting with Trump in Alaska last week. And this is just days before Trump called this impromptu meeting. So in measuring how successful Europe was at achieving their goals or their aims at the meeting, they walked in determined to show unity amongst themselves and solidarity with Ukraine. They did that. They wanted security assurances from Trump, which they got, at least for now. So in that sense, I think it was a successful, they would consider it a successful trip.
Okay. Emily, is there anything else about this meeting that was particularly notable?
I mean, there were certainly some things happening in between the lines that observers picked up on. For example, the fact that European leaders, when in the meeting room, formed a semicircle around Zelensky that was interpreted as a signal of EU's protectiveness of Ukraine, because it appeared that the EU leaders were trying to shield Zelensky from perhaps having any more uncomfortable interactions with Trump after the very heated meeting between Zelensky, Trump, and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance back in February, where Trump and Vance accused Zelensky of not being grateful enough to the United States. That was the same visit where Trump criticized the army green casual wear that Zelensky has committed to putting on since the start of Russia's invasion. That wardrobe choice is regarded as a sign of Zelensky's solidarity with Ukrainian troops. But after that comment, we saw at this meeting that Zelensky was in a button-down shirt and tie, this time black instead of army green. But that change of dress was something that Trump picked up on and commented on, even though Kyiv has said there was no meaning behind the change in clothing. So there were certainly lots of things happening in between the lines in terms of what they were signaling at the meeting as well.
Okay. The US has ruled out NATO membership to Ukraine. How do the European leaders view this stance?
Well, Trump hasn't really wavered on this position, so I don't believe the EU leaders in attendance expected him to change his mind and this to be the meeting where that would happen. Even though Europe as a bloc supports Ukraine, there are EU leaders who have been hesitant to give the green light to Ukraine to join. So I don't think that was really something that they were seeking to get out of this meeting. But NATO chief Mark Rutte said that the security guarantees that were proposed in the meeting were akin to Article 5, which is NATO's mutual defense clause. And that states that an attack on one NATO country is considered an attack on the other members. So even without securing NATO membership, which again was not really on the table at this meeting, the EU is still finding ways to support and help Ukraine defend itself against Russia.
Okay, we leave it here. Thank you very much. Emily Leshner reporting from DW, Berlin. Indonesian Foreign Minister Sugiarno met his German counterpart Johan Wadephul in Jakarta on Wednesday. During the meet, Foreign Minister Sugiarno said that Indonesia and Germany are looking into strengthening trade and investment cooperation ahead of the Indonesia-EU SEPA agreement in 2026. In response, Wadephul reiterated Germany's commitment along with Japan in supporting Indonesia's implementation of the Just Energy Transition Program.
We both hope that the implementation of the Indonesia-EU CEPA, which is targeted for completion in 2026, will further expand opportunities for cooperation, particularly in the economic field between the two countries, increase trade and investment, and I also express Indonesia's willingness and openness to increase investments and invite Germany to increase investment together with Danantara.
Keterbukaan Indonesia untuk
A Japan-led global conference on African development has kicked off in Yokohama on Wednesday. Several African leaders joined Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba in Yokohama for the start of the three-day Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD. Speaking at the conference's opening session, Ishiba pledged Japan's support for training and development across the continent. The conference, first held in 1993, focuses on Japanese support for development in Africa. Moving on now, the 6th high-level meeting between the Indian Coast Guard and the Vietnamese Coast Guard took place in Hanoi under the 2015 MOU on Coast Guard cooperation. The talks focused on maritime search, rescue and law enforcement, pollution response and capacity building. Both sides emphasized combating smuggling, trafficking and illegal fishing, while underlining the importance of joint search and rescue drills and pollution response to safeguard the seas. The delegations also reaffirmed commitment to ship visits, training programs and exchange of best practices, consolidating ties for stronger regional and maritime security and environmental protection. India's Ministry of Defence is set to launch its own strategic conference called Ran Samvad, focused exclusively on warfare and defence cooperation. The theme of the inaugural Ran Samvad is Impact of Technology on Warfare. The Tri-Services Seminar of the Armed Forces will be held later this month at the Army War College at Mo in central India. Only the practitioners of the war, that is, the uniformed armed forces personnel, will be the speakers, but veterans, academia, think tanks and even civilians can attend. The Ran Samvad will be an annual fixture from this year onwards.
This one will focus purely on war, warfare and war fighting. We will attempt to arrive from the seminar with practical takeaways and doables, so that we see whatever technology is impacting our day-to-day war-fighting capability and the way we do business. How do we incorporate that into our training, into our tactics, techniques, procedures, into our organizational structures, so that whatever technological influx is happening into the Indian Armed Forces, how do we best use it to our advantage?
We in the ancient times were a Vishwaguru. We want India to lead the debate on this strategic dialogue of future wars. We want to reclaim that spot of Vishwaguru, and that is the intent behind behind the commencement of this dialogue called Ran Samvad. An exchange of concepts, best practices, innovative approach and a platform for serving officers to present their views at fighting future battles is what we are wanting to achieve.
And now we take a look at other stories making news across the world. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian visited Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko as the two countries seek to boost bilateral ties. Belarus aims to deepen ties with Iran, which includes military technical cooperation. Pezeshkian, on his visit to Belarus, said that Iran was ready to help Belarus neutralize illegal Western sanctions. Australia has pledged a $32.22 million aid package to support development in Mekong countries. The announcement came during Foreign Minister Penny Wong's visit to Hanoi, where she held talks with Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Bui Thanh Son. A tragic bus accident in Afghanistan's Herat province killed 71 people, of which 17 are reported to be children. The accident occurred on Tuesday night with a bus catching fire, which claimed many lives. The bus was reportedly carrying deported migrants to Kabul and caught fire after colliding with a truck and a motorcycle. Back to India now. Rajasthan's Manika Vishwakarma has been crowned Miss Universe India 2025, earning the opportunity to represent the country at the 74th Miss Universe competition scheduled to be held in Thailand on 21st November. Manika, who hails from Sri Ganganagar, described the win as a proud moment for Rajasthan and the nation. She's a student of final year Political Science and Economics degree from the Delhi University. While talking to DD India, Manika said that she aims to work for women empowerment. DD India's Lakshya Arya caught up with Manika Vishwakarma on her preparations and the fact that she represents India on the global stage.
Right, we have a Manika Vishwakarma who recently crowned as Miss India Universe. How are you feeling? And especially right from the Sri Ganganagar to the Delhi and to now to the straight away Thailand, how are you feeling?
Oh, the journey has been dynamic. Coming from Ganganagar to Delhi was an absolutely a bombing experience. I could never imagine at that point of time that I would ever come out of Ganganagar and go to a city like Delhi and explore around. But I think my parents gave me that opportunity, my society gave me that opportunity to study. But at the same time, they also supported me in this goal of becoming Miss Universe India. My major reason to move to Delhi was this pageant, and it has always been.
You're born and raised in Rajasthan, the place known for its rich heritage, rich culture. How will you represent that heritage and culture in the global aspect?
When we talk about Rajasthan, one aspect that comes to my mind is the courage that we carry. Irrespective of anything, we always are the most strongest people. Even in the time of adversities, we are the strongest one to stand straight, stand high, and speak for ourselves, be ourselves, and fight with the best of our foot forward.
This is all Manika Vishwakarma, who will not only represent India on the global aspect, but also on a 74th Miss Universe. All hopes with the Manika now. This was all Lakshya Arya, along with the cameraman Rakesh Patel, DD India, Jaipur.
In Rajasthan, it is said, courage isn't taught, it's inherited. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks air on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.